So I want to back up just real briefly. So you're doing Overwatch when they're digging up the bodies, which I first learned that bodies were dug up. I never knew that until I interviewed a guy named Mike Burke, who was also there in a Ranger element. And I thought that was fascinating. But before that, when the raid goes down, are you in a blocking position? Because it was SEAL Team 6 that got in the hospital, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were like trying to hitch a ride on their pander. They weren't too nice at that point. And I get it, we're young Rangers. I would probably be the same way. But yeah, they're the ones that went in and um, brought her out. But we knew where she was. We had an informant. So that was the easy part. Um, yeah, I was on a building, a rooftop. We just drove right in, crashed the gate, like, boom, spread out. It was just a land on the X. There was a helo element, I think second Ranger, and we just drove in. I was on a friggin' 5 ton. We put sandbags on the all around, and we just busted into our corner, fired a couple shots. We saw what we thought was somebody in the window, so it doesn't even matter, irrelevant. But so we were on this rooftop right next to the base of the hospital where the bodies were. So I sent you that thing I wrote, and it's the rescue, if you want to call it that. That was done 45 minutes. That's all done, and then we're digging up bodies. And even before that, like before we went, there's 3 days of um. So I don't want to knock leadership too bad. I'm not saying I could do it better, but it was always like this in the Rangers, and it was never like this in Delta. Like, we're gonna sit out in the hot freaking sun. We literally went, hurry up, 3 days before, flew to this hangar with no roof. And so we're in this hangar in the sun in March in Iraq, just getting crushed like a freaking piece of dry fruit. Then I get, migraine, and every people are getting sick. Oh, and by the way, we're wearing our chem suits. We are, but the commander walks by wearing Ranger panties, as we call them, PT shorts, and a t-shirt. And that's when my freaking lid pops, man. Like, I just can't abide in a situation like that. So that's when the chirping starts, and you know, plan, hut, hut, hut. 3 days later, we're there, and we're doing that, and then it's time to dig bodies, and it gets real really quick. It's like a gunfight. It's like, okay, I'll forget about all the chirping and chatter, and you focus. So when it was like, hey, we found the bodies, and they're only buried a couple feet down, and we start digging, and then we smell the smell um, that to this day I can't even get close to. But um, and then you hear your buddies throwing up, and we're out of water. My e-tools broke. People are bringing e-tools, bringing water. My teammate is going down and helping. And so we're watching it all, and you want to help, but you got to stay up there and do your job, full security. Um, and then, there's radio calls. So you're hearing the radio the whole time. And you're working, you're doing your job, but you're always hearing this traffic. And Fader, I mean, I wrote about them. So like I use people's names when they're awesome. If they're not awesome, I just leave the name out. They know who they are. Fader was just the man. Like, he just, you know, staff sergeant standing up to a freaking colonel. Hey, you gonna hurry up? You gotta hurry up there. We got to get out of here. All right, sir. Yeah, we're trying. Guys are throwing up. We're having to rotate out. It's really the bodies are coming apart. Um, it took hours and hours, and e-tools were breaking. Guys were digging with their hands. Um, you know, just we talked later and on the way home, and when we got home, eyes were just really, really hard to see stuff. They were buried for 3 weeks in the desert, and we knew with the creed we needed to recover those bodies. So we did, but at one point it was just this, we got to finish up. What's taking so long? And finally Fader was like, hey, sir, would you please shut the fuck up? We are trying so hard. This is the worst thing we've ever done and probably will ever have to do. Please kindly turn your radio off, you know, or come and help. And then it was quiet. And eventually we finished and we're rolling out. It was the sun was coming up at that point. So I just want to my I always want to be where I'm at, right? Feel what I'm feeling. So I get a little shaky talking about this still because and I just want to say that, like, if anybody notices that, yeah, hell yeah, I'm freaking worked up about this. So we're driving home. The sun's coming up, you know, 9, 10 in the morning, and we'd been up. We hadn't slept. You know, if you do, it's just a little bit, but so we've got these bodies on the flatbed that I came in on now, you know, we've got in body bags and we're tired. And so the mortar guys driving this flatbed 5-ton go off the road and the body bags roll off. And it's like, oh my God, talk about, you know, Murphy. So we picked him up again, loaded him up again. And we finally get back to wherever we got back to. That's where my memory just goes out. And we got help unloading, but people just took their clothes off, stripped them and burned them. And, you know, I just don't remember a few days after that, kind of like Pepper, I just zoned out once it was done. But obviously the hypocrisy of the, you know, we're wearing charcoal freaking suits in 118 degrees and your boss comes by, you're wearing shorts. That ain't gonna work.
That story is crazy for many reasons.
Yeah.
It's again, I almost feel embarrassed to admit it. I'm 32 years old, and I had no idea that bodies were dug up at all. And I consider myself a bit of a history buff, and I can't imagine just the emotional drain that must take on a guy. How many days would you say it took, maybe, for, I don't know if morale is the right word, but how long did it take for people to kind of, okay, now we're on to the next thing. We can't dwell. We're in an active war. What was that transition like?
Good question. It was longer than normal, like probably longer than when one of your guys dies. You know, that's a day or two, and then it's back to work. I don't remember, but I know it was significant because of, as much as the horror of digging up bodies, the hypocrisy because of that. It's like, man, nobody's saying it, but like I can look back now and know that what's going on in our spirit is like just this impossibility of, you know, hypocrisy and integrity. They're not what's going to win. So eventually we got back to work, but I don't remember much.